Hello, dear little friends. Welcome to dive into Pooja's books, where we read books and we see how much knowledge book reading can bring to you. So, you continue reading lots and lots of books. So, today I'm going to tell you three famous stories. So, just get cozy and let's get started. Let us read some fun stories. So the first story is about the three little pigs. Once upon a time, there was an old mother pig who had three little pigs and not enough food to feed them. So when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. The first little pig was very lazy. He didn't want to work at all, and he built his house out of straw. The second little pig worked a little bit harder, but he was somewhat lazy too, and he built his house out of sticks. Then they sang and danced and played together the rest of the day. The third little pig worked hard all day and built his house with bricks. It was a sturdy, strong house, complete with a fine fireplace and chimney. It looked like it could withstand the strongest winds. The next day, a wolf happened to pass by the lane where the three little pigs lived, and he saw the straw house, and he smelled the pig inside. He thought the pig would make a mighty fine meal, and his mouth began to water. So he knocked on the door and he said, little pig, let me in." But the little pig saw the wolf's big paws through the keyhole. So he answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." Then the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow, blow, blow." So he puffed and he huffed and he blew the house down. The wolf opened his jaws very wide, but the little pig escaped and ran away to hide with the second little pig. The wolf continued down the lane and he passed by the second house made of sticks, and he saw the house. He smelled the pigs inside, and his mouth began to water again. So he knocked on the door and said, little pigs, let me in." But the little pig said, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on our chinny chin chin." So the wolf opened his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow, blow, blow." So he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. The wolf was greedy and he tried to catch both the pigs at once. But he was too greedy and he did not got any of them. Both of the little pigs ran as fast as they could, and then they managed to escape and they went to their third brother's house. Now the three little pigs were frightened. They knew the wolf wanted to eat them. And that was very, very true. The wolf hadn't eaten all day, and he wanted to make a lovely feast out of the three little pigs. He knocked on the door of the brick house and said, little pigs, let me in." But the three little pigs answered, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on our chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow, blow, blow." So he huffed and he puffed. He huffed and he puffed. He huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed. But he could not blow the house down. At last he was out of breath and he couldn't huff or puff anymore. So he stopped to rest and thought a bit. This was too much. He thought he could come down the chimney and eat up the little pig for his summer. So he tried to do that. But the little piggies, they lit up a blazing fire and put a big pot full of water to boil. Then just as the wolf was coming down, the little piggy pulled off the lid and plop in fell the wolf into the scalding, boiling hot water. And the little pig put on the cover again, boiled the wolf up, and the three little pigs ate him for the supper. So now the three little pigs were instead enjoying the wolf for supper. What was the moral of this story? It is your dedication and hard work goes a long way. So since the third piggy was dedicated and he worked really hard to make the brick house, he was safe in the end. So we should continue working hard, and yes, we will get successful someday. Nice story? Okay, so let's move on to our second story. So, our second story is about the Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak. So everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since they had seen each other. That's a good idea, her mother said. So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. When the basket was ready, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. Remember, go straight to Grandma's house, her mother said. Don't waddle along the way and please don't talk to strangers. The woods are dangerous. Don't worry, Mommy, said the Little Red Riding Hood. I'll be careful. But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the wood, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flit for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, and then picked a few more. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer days so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching. He added a frilly sleeping cap, and for good measure, he had some of Granny's perfume also. A few minutes later, Little Red Riding Hood knocked up the door. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his nose. Who is it? He called. It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, how lovely! Do come in, my dear, said the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could hardly recognize her grandmother. Grandmother, your voice sounds so cold. Is something wrong? Oh, I just might have a bit of cold, squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end to prove the point. But grandmother, what big ears you have! The better to hear you with, my dear, replied the wolf. But grandmother, what big eyes you have! The better to see you with, my dear, replied the wolf. But grandmother, what big teeth you have! The better to eat you with, my dear, roared the wolf, and he leaped out of the bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and through the door, shouting, "Help! Wolf!" as loudly as she could. A woodsman who was chopping the logs nearby heard her cry and ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece. "Oh, Grandma, I was so scared," sobbed Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll never speak to strangers or dawdle in the forest again." There, child, you have learned an important lesson. Thanks goodness you shouted loud enough for this kind woodsman to hear you. The woodsman knocked out the wolf and carried him deep into forest where he couldn't bother any longer. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice lunch and a long chat. So, what you learn from this story? You learn that you should never talk to strangers and you should hear to your parents' caution whenever they tell you something. Okay, let's move on. Let's listen our third story now. So our third story is a funny one. It's about the story of Goldilocks and the three bears. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks. She went for a walk in the forest. Pretty soon, she came upon a house. She knocked. When no one answered, she walked right in. At the table in the kitchen, there were 3 bowls of porridge. Goldilocks was hungry. She tasted the porridge from the first bowl. "The porridge is too hot," she exclaimed. So she tasted the porridge from the second bowl. "This porridge is too cold," she said. So she tasted the last bowl of porridge. "Ah, this porridge is just right," she said happily, and she ate it all up. After she had eaten the 3 bears' breakfast, she decided she was feeling a little tired. So she walked into the living room where she saw 3 chairs. Goldilocks sat in the first chair to rest her feet. "This chair is too big," she exclaimed. So she sat in the second chair. "This chair is too big too," she whined. So she tried the last and the smallest chair. "Ah, this chair is just right," she sighed. But just as she settled down into the chair to rest, it broke into pieces. Goldilocks was very tired by this time, so she went upstairs to the bedroom. She lay down in the first bed, but it was too hard. Then she lay in the second bed, but it was too soft. Then she lay down in the third bed, and it was just right. Goldilocks fell asleep. As she was sleeping, the 3 bears came home. "Someone has been eating my porridge," growled the Papa Bear. "Someone has been eating my porridge," said the Mama Bear. "Someone has been eating my porridge, and they ate it all up," cried the baby bear. "Someone has been sitting in my chair," growled Papa Bear. "Someone has been sitting in my chair too," said Mama Bear. "Someone has been sitting in my chair and they've broken it all to pieces," cried the baby bear. They decided to look around some more when they got upstairs to the bedroom. Papa Bear growled, "Someone has been sleeping in my bed." "Someone has been sleeping in my bed too," said the Mama Bear. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed and she is still there," exclaimed Baby Bear. Just then, Goldilocks woke up and saw the 3 bears. She screamed, "Help!" and she jumped up and ran out of the room. Goldilocks ran down the stairs, opened the door and ran away into the forest. and she never returned to the home of the three bears. Such a funny story it was. So did you like all the three stories we read today? Yeah, if you did, just press the like icon. And yes, subscribe to my channel. It's free for more such videos. See you soon again. Bye. Thank you.